You know, there are things called the Dark Ages in the medieval history, when people think there was no writing, there are no books, there are no messages at all, so they call them the Dark Ages. Well, our time will also be a dark age, because eventually all the digital materials that we take for granted will be totally superseded by much more sophisticated things, and there will be no record. I mean, already in my lifetime, I know about computer records, floppy disks, all sorts of things which everybody took for granted, and all the things are copied on them which you can't find a reader for anywhere in the whole of London. So even in the space of a few years, things become redundant. And what will happen is there'll be a period where archaeologists will say it looks like from our excavations after about 1980 AD to maybe 2824, nobody did any writing at all. It will be perfectly possible, because I think nothing will survive. Whereas if you have old letters, old books, old manuscripts, they might get a bit wrinkly, they might get a bit mouldy, they might have all sorts of trouble, but they survive. And paper, which you would think would be the most ephemeral material, lasts and lasts and lasts. So I'm a great believer in writing letters, writing things down on paper and looking after those records too, because I don't think digital records are reliable. Well, the diary project was one of those things. You know, people sometimes say, wouldn't it be a good idea if somebody did this, or somebody ought to do this? And I got some diaries once which were going to be thrown away, and I thought to myself, these are marvellous things. They're like ancient writing. Somebody every day of their life records what happens to them, writes it all down. This is a really precious thing, and it's terrible if they get thrown away. So I started this kind of movement, made a lot of noise about it, and then I found a librarian in a big old library with lots of space, and he agreed with me that this was a good idea. So we made a formal project. We've got a website, of course, and we've been on the radio and we give lectures about it. And the idea is this, that when you have a family where some old person dies, and among all their effects, there's some diaries. What very often happens in many families is they get thrown away immediately, not even hesitating. They think they're private, they think something, they throw them away. And I wanted to have it like this, that people all over the place knew who was that mad person in London. There is somewhere where you can send these things, and we will take anything. We rescue. We regard it as a rescue campaign. So we've been doing it now about a year and a half in this library, and more than 4,000 diaries have come. And people tell other people, you know, how it works. Someone goes for dinner to someone's house and they say, you know, something interesting happened to me today about this. And the other person says, oh, you know, I've got all this stuff in the loft, I've never known what to do with it. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And lots of people think, oh, diaries are going to be boring, you know, they're all the same, or something like that. It's absolutely not true. They are wonderful. They are absolutely wonderful. It is so astonishing. And even if you have a diary that when you start reading it, it looks a bit mundane, you cut the lawn, went shopping, it's raining or something like that. When this is 120 years old, it has a kind of different value. And my experience, even the most mundane diaries have got something in them which is startling. You know, I got up, had lunch, went in the garden, saw God, came in, had supper, that kind of diary entry. Something extraordinary. And because all people's lives are extraordinary, and the diaries tell you all about them. So I think this is a really marvellous project, and we'll do it as much as we can, and they'll be kept forever.